Mr. Potter and Tabby picked up pears. Chapter 1, Peter Jelly. It was fall, and juicy things were growing in Mr. Potter's backyard. Juicy apples, juicy tomatoes, juicy pears. Mr. Potter walked with his fine cat Tabby among the juicy things, and he dreamed. He dreamed of apple pie and apple tumblers. He dreamed of hot apple cider with a cinnamon stick and stuffed red tomatoes. Tabby loved it when Mr. Potter said it was time to do something. She was old, but she still liked it best. She followed Mr. Potter into the garage, where he found a ladder for pear picking. Then he went to the backyard, where all the experiment was. Chapter 2, Cracky Ear Legs. Mr. Potter had a problem. It was a ladder problem. Mr. Potter set his ladder against the pear tree, but he couldn't get off the ladder. Last year he got off the ladder, but this year he had to cracky leg, cracky knees, cracky feet. He stepped into the ladder, and his leg was so cracky, and he had to go leg up again. One trouble with being old, said Mr. Potter, is being cracky. Tabby knew what he meant. She had a cracky tail. Some days it was so cracky it wouldn't fish. It just stuck in the air like a stick. Cracky legs and cracky tails were no fun when you're old, especially when you're pear jelly. Mr. Peter looked at the pears in his tray, and he thought. Tabby curled herself up and waited. She liked experiment, but she couldn't wait for it. Chapter 3, Jane. What I need, said Mr. Peter at last. It's a good starthood. Mr. Potter knew about shots. He had played with them as a boy. They were good for knocking cans of rocks, so they must be good for knocking pairs of trees. Tabby followed him into the house to make a sing house. Mr. Peter found a pair of old underwear that he didn't like. He didn't like because it was covered with poodles. His brother had given him with the underwear for his birthday. His brother loved the underwear. He thought it was funny. Mr. Peter didn't. So he cut off the underwears and got some very good electrics. Then he got an old glove. Then he got a stick and he made a cylinder. Mr. Potter and Tabby went back to the pear tree. Mr. Potter needed something hard and long to a string. Many of his apples had already fallen, so he picked up an apple. He put the apple in a singer hut. He unmanned a pear on the tree and pulled back as hard as he could. Then, one half-round apple went flying up, over Mr. Potter's pear tree, over Mr. Potter's apple tree, over Mr. Potter's chimney, over Mr. Potter's house. Mr. Potter and Tabby watched it as it flew out of sight. Said Mr. Potter. He picked up another apple. Zing! Up, over, out of sight. Well, said Mr. Potter. He was smiling. He might have cranky legs, but sure he had juicy hand. He picked up another apple. Zing! Another apple. Zing! Another. Zing! He forgot all about the pears. Tabby liked the first zings, but by the seventh zing, she began to yawn. By the tenth zing, she began to nod, and by the fourteenth zing, she was on to a straight. Mr. Potter played with his sides all afternoon. He played through tea time. He played through a stop time. He played until dark, when he couldn't see the apples go up anymore. When he was finished, he had no apple and no pear jelly. He was a little embarrassed. He picked up the tabby and sneaked inside. Chapter 4, Juicy Day. The next afternoon, Mr. Potter and Tabby were sitting on their porch. They were feeling sorry for themselves because they still had no pear jelly. Suddenly, Mr. Potter's neighbor, Mrs. Tabby and her good dog Jake came by. Mrs. Tabby was carrying a very big basket. She said to Mr. Potter, "It was amazing. When I woke up this morning, there were lots of apples in my front yard, and I don't even have an apple tree." Mr. Potter looked at Tabby. Amazing, he said. So I made an apple fest. Said Mrs. Tabby. In the basket she had 14 apple crumbs, 5 apple pies, 6 apple jellies, and a gallon of hot apple cider with cinnamon stick. Mr. Potter and Tabby ate juicy things for days and days, and when he was finishing his last apple pie, Mr. Potter had an idea about those pears still on his pear tree. He would wait for them to fall off. Then he would get his slingshot and start digging. The end.